Potential hopefuls now awaiting the kickstart of the Nevada caucuses in just 2 hours from now. Most of the candidates spending this week making a mad dash across the state. Correspondent Griff Jenkins also been known to make a mad dash. He is on the ground there with the latest. Griff, what do you got?
Jillian, people are starting to show up here at Liberty High School. Well, they will begin that process in about 2 hours. The doors open at 10 a.m. local. Nevada already making history for their first ever early voting of nearly 75,000 votes cast. What they don't want to do is make history with the sort of mess that Iowa created. Now, here in Nevada, they've already scrapped the app. They've also scrapped the Google form that was going to be the backup. They're going to do traditional phoning into headquarters. They will then text a picture of the results and back it up with paper forms. Only time will tell how that will go. I asked an official going in. He didn't want to go on camera. I said, how confident are you that this is going to work out well? He said, no, I'm not, because young people get involved and young people don't have the experience. Meanwhile, candidates are making their final push and their closing arguments as to why they're best fit to take on Donald Trump. Watch.
I am here one more time to look you in the eye and ask you to caucus for me tomorrow.
Every time somebody tells you a woman can't beat Donald Trump, well, I don't know about a woman, but I'll tell you Elizabeth Warren can beat Donald Trump.
Look, this campaign is really just getting started. We're finally at a place where there are folks that represent the country.
I'm not leaving stones unturned, and about not representing just half of America, but representing all of America.
I got news for the Republican establishment. I got news for the Democratic establishment. They can't stop us.
A few things to watch for. One is whether or not Elizabeth Warren can capitalize on a strong debate this past week, and whether Biden will continue to fall like he did in Iowa and New Hampshire. I guess eventually we'll find out. Officials inside, lastly, I can point out, are worried about the rain. You can see a little bit of rain coming down. They're afraid it may affect turnout. But judging from the parking lot that's starting to fill up, it looks like so far it's not impacting it. Jillian?
I think the million-dollar question on a lot of folks' minds now, Griff, is this whole operation going to go down smoothly, or is it going to be a repeat of Iowa? A lot of people following that. We'll check back in with you next hour. You can keep us up to speed. Thanks, Griff.
Meanwhile, President Trump went after Bernie Sanders ahead of today's caucus, sounding off yesterday at a rally in Vegas.
Bernie is too emotional. He's screaming, going crazy.
All right, with that, we bring in talk radio host Tony Katz, the voice of Indianapolis, heard worldwide on the interwebs. Mr. Katz, we'll start with this. What do you make of the president's road show that basically mirrors the Democratic primary? It seems the night before or day before a caucus, he's there with a rally in the same state.
Smart policy, smart plan, smart way to do it. It was Newt Gingrich who said if he got the nomination in 2012, he would go wherever Barack Obama was giving a speech, not even knowing what Barack Obama was going to say, and then he would immediately explain why Barack Obama was wrong. This is standard operating procedure, and it's a good one. Steal the thunder. I was there in New Hampshire when the president had the rally in Manchester. Thousands of people showed up, and there really was this divide in excitement, the president supporters versus kind of the begrudging acceptance of the Democrats and who they were going to be voting for. This is politics 101, and it's a smart move.
The president always likes to talk about his crowd sizes. The only person who's getting comparable crowd sizes, though, is Bernie Sanders. 17,000 in Washington State. You talk about excitement. You go to various rallies, and the person who generates the most excitement next to President Trump, sometimes comparably to President Trump, is Bernie Sanders.
I wouldn't go so far as comparably, but there's an interesting story in this, which is you watch the Democratic apparatchik. They're all up in arms that we can't have this socialist as our candidate. We can't allow this to happen to the Democratic Party. He is the Democratic Party. Everything he believes is now Democratic Party mantra. He set the stage in 2016. His problem is that he was a much more formidable candidate in 2016. And now that people have seen results from Trump, not just talking points from Trump, they are more apt to go his direction. And they realize that Bernie goes even further and further into this socialist love fest. But everybody complaining about Bernie Sanders and worried about Bernie Sanders, you let Bernie Sanders own the party. You all want Medicare for all. That's Bernie Sanders. You all want to talk about the 99% versus the 1% in a much stronger way than Obama ever did. That's Bernie Sanders. Don't get mad that he's having results. Get mad that you didn't put him in the trunk 4 years ago. Get mad that you didn't say enough about him being a socialist then as opposed to now.
You're looking at it from the Democratic establishment point of view that seems to feel as though, at least for a good portion of them, that Bernie Sanders being the nominee means the re-election of President Trump. There are some Republicans who did not necessarily agree with that. Lisa Booth last night on the Ingraham Angle.
Bernie Sanders is the toughest candidate for President Trump to face in the general election. He will be the Democratic nominee. He's got that message. I think that it could appeal to the forgotten men and women that President Trump was able to appeal to. I've heard a lot of Republicans acting like somehow this is going to be an easy race against Bernie Sanders. It will not be.
Thoughts?
I'll give you a couple. First, I think that's an astute observation and is the other side of the coin, that he is popular, that he is trending up, that in Nevada, as we watch this caucus get ready to start, you would think that the culinary union there would be up in arms, but it only got brought up a couple times in the debate that they don't want their health care taken away. Bernie's the guy to take away that health care, and he's up by double digits in that race, even with the latest poll to come out with over 1,000 respondents to the poll. Yes, Bernie Sanders has a lot of people behind him, and that should be concerning to anybody who's going to run against him. And the president, of course, needs to be aware of that. Lisa's not wrong at all. The real question will be Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. You've got a lot of those people are going to say to themselves, my economy's pretty good right now, and Bernie's just a little too much for me. They can take this election. I do believe Trump against Bernie can still take this election because the Democrats can't handle the fact that the socialists will have the party, and they'll work against them. The Republicans are working against them. Rational minds are working against them, and it's going to be a much tougher road for him. But let's not deny his popularity. On that, Lisa's absolutely accurate.
Yeah, one can imagine that the clip of Bernie Sanders saying we're going to end fracking playing over and over again in Pennsylvania could do something for turnout. We'll leave the what it will do for turnout to our next conversation. Tony Katz there in Indianapolis. He'll break it down on the show in the coming week. Tony, thank you. Special coverage of our coverage of the Nevada caucuses hosted by Bret Baier. That begins at 4 p.m. Eastern today.
Investigators now searching for 2 missing children in the state of Idaho.